Ideas suck. Let me tell you why. Let's go on a little adventure in the suburbs of Stockholm. This was the first client work I ever did. I chose a horrible day to do this because it's incredibly cold, but you see, this logo was the first client work I ever did. I still remember when I decided to start my social media company, which is the one I'm doing all the stuff through today as well. But I borrowed my parents' car, I drove here, I pitched to them my whole idea for their logo, for their brand colors, etc. I designed their whole brand essentially. I had no experience at all doing any of this. I'd never designed a brand before. I'd never designed a logo before. I barely know how to use Photoshop. I was like, okay, I'll just try it. And I remember them asking me specifically towards the end of the pitch, so where are you located? As in like, where's your office? And at that time, my office was in my bedroom in my parents' house. So I said, oh, I have my office in Mörby, which is where my parents live. And it wasn't a lie, because it was where I had my office at the time, but at the same time, it was bedroom. But then I ended up getting to work. I think it was like $1,200 for a website and a logo. And the point here was that I had this idea to start a social media company, and I haven't really had that many clients. I probably worked with 6 or 7 companies, so it wasn't a successful company or anything like that. But it's just the idea of, you know, I had this thing that I wanted to do, a social media company, a website, whatever, all that digital kind of stuff, and I just did it. I guess that's the lesson here. I had no experience, I had no right to do it, whatever. Kind of just, you know, fake it till you make it and just tried it, which is what I did. And that's why I decided to come here, because it's pretty cool. Like this, I think I was 19, it was 2019. I've never done anything like it. Now it's sitting here in the middle of this relatively busy suburb in Stockholm, which is pretty cool, and I guess something which I'm quite proud of. And the fact that they still have it up here is pretty damn cool. But yeah, that was why we were on an adventure. Let's go back home. The reason for making this video and titling this way is because I got this Instagram DM. And this Instagram DM said, hey bro, I just saw your video about the app that you built, very inspiring. I wish that I had half as many ideas as you do. Keep up the good work. First of all, I love these kinds of DMs. I've gotten a few and been lucky enough to get quite a few, and it warms my heart significantly. But just this one, this specific DM, I thought about a little bit extra. And that's specifically that part that said, I wish that I had half as many ideas as you do. So I thought a little bit about it. And came to the conclusion that I wanted to make a video about it, which is why I'm making this right now. And the reason that you saw me at this place where I was earlier today, where I designed that logo, was to just demonstrate that I think things are easier than most people believe that they are. So this DM that I got said, I wish I had half as many ideas as you do. And I'm assuming they watched the episode 50 where I kind of outlined all the stuff I've done in the past, like writing a book, starting those different like side hustles, etc., whatever you want to call them, building the app, all that kind of stuff. And the reality of the thing is ideas are incredibly overvalued. There's an oversupply of ideas in the world. Everyone has ideas, and really that's what makes us human to some degree. But having ideas is very simple. Everyone has ideas. What's difficult or more rare is executing on those said ideas. And I think this is what most people get wrong. They think that they just need that one perfect idea, they need to do it, they need to share it with someone or whatever, and then their life is gonna be perfect. From my perspective, this is wrong because of 2 main things. 1, ideas are easy to have, execution is what matters, execution is what's difficult to do. And 2, execution of those ideas is what brings meaning to life. If you just walk around and have ideas, thoughts, they don't really mean anything. They're intangible, they're not special in any way. Probably a billion other people have those same exact thoughts and ideas as you do. You're not that special. And neither am I. I'm not saying this applies to everyone. No one's special enough to be unique in the ideas that they have. What can you make you unique though is to execute or do whatever this idea is. And I think this is something that I realized when I was relatively young, probably around like 17, 18, something like that, when I started doing all these kinds of stuff. And once you've done a couple of things, you begin to realize that this world is just a really big playground. For example, the first time I wrote a book, this one, Small But Mighty, a book about social media. I thought that, okay, you need to be a guru, you need to have made $1 billion in social media in order to be justified writing a book about it. It's gonna be impossible to publish it. There's a ton of excuses for the ideas that you have. But I just sat down, started writing, and all of a sudden, like 6 months later, that book was written. And the same applies to every single thing that I've done. Like, it started off as an idea. Trust me, I'm no special, I have no more ideas than anyone, and there's people who are much better than I am at this and have executed on a billion more things than I have, but I do feel as if I've done quite a few of the different things which I've had ideas about. So for example, I was like, okay, I want to try starting a social media / design company, and that's why we went this morning to look at that logo which I made. And I didn't have any experience with this, I didn't have any knowledge. All I had was one idea that I wanted to do, and I just did it. And I think that one thing you must realize, and we must all realize, is that there's less obstacles in this world than we do think. So if you want to do something like that, you start the company, you call yourself whatever. I called myself Nordic Social Media, which is still the company that I use today. I just started reaching out to people. I did a couple of things for free, and this client happened to be my first client, and they came through one of the free things that I did for another company, like a referral kind of thing. And then this client actually ended up bringing in another referral. But the point that I want to get to is that there's nothing special about the execution of these things. Nothing special about the books that I wrote, nothing special about the social media company that I started, nothing special about these websites that I built, nothing special about these fitness plans that I sold online, nothing special about these Instagram accounts that I've had and sold. There's nothing special about them or me whatsoever. The only thing that's slightly different is that these things originated as ideas and they ended up being executed, which is why they ended up being done, essentially. And this is quite interesting because this is also one of the things with this YouTube channel. I think I'm almost like at 100,000 views now in total, which is great. And I've also had some people reach out, which has been incredible. But for example, I had this one very interesting interaction where someone from Canada reached out and they just wanted to chat about their idea. They wanted to do like a brainstorm, and that's always fun. Like, I've probably spoken to 4 or 5 different people from social media. Like, there's one guy in Uruguay, he just released his app Party Radar. Kind of been speaking to him for like half a year, which is pretty cool. But this particular person, they had this idea that they wanted to speak about and like get some tips on their coding stuff. This person actually wanted me to sign an NDA before I spoke to them. They asked me if I could sign an NDA before hopping on like a Zoom, or I think it was an Instagram call maybe, to talk about, you know, our different app ideas and all the stuff. And this is so interesting to me because this is a person who hasn't started any of their coding or anything like that yet. That's what they wanted to talk about, how they structure it. And they haven't done anything tangible except for have this idea, but still they're so worried about someone taking this idea and executing upon it that they wanted me to sign an NDA before even talking about it. Like me, on contrast, everything that I've done is on social media. Everything that I've done is on YouTube. I've told everyone about the apps that I'm building. I've shown the process. I've even shown the source code to some of them, for example. I guess that just goes to show that once you've done a couple of these things, you start to realize that ideas don't matter at all. There's nothing special about ideas, and people tend to overvalue them. If it was just about the ideas, everyone would have done it. Everyone would have built the app idea that they had. Everyone would have started the company which they had. Everyone would have started that social media account which they wanted to. But that's not the case. And that's why I haven't really been uncomfortable with sharing any of these things. But I also think that this is why I've really started to enjoy the process of these things. None of these things have made me a lot of money. None of these things have made me very successful, although I feel as if things are starting to fall into place now. But up until now, like, I'm probably minus in terms of money made from all these things, or just about break even if I count the social media company as well, all the money I spent on the last app that I published. So I'm not saying that I'm successful or great at it or anything like that. Like, I probably executed this horribly, but the note in there is that I have executed upon these ideas. Even if that's not great, even if nothing's come out of it yet, I've learned a lot from it, and I think that's the main part. And then the reason that I'm saying this is that, like this person, I feel like as if a lot of people have so many ideas, so many things that they want to do, but they never do anything. So if that's you, if you recognize yourself in this, then take this as your message to take whatever idea you have and just start on it. And it doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be great. Start on it to realize, and you start to see how things fall into place. Things just become so much easier. Writing a book and publishing it wasn't nearly as difficult as I thought it would be. Making an app and publishing that, I thought that was gonna be something for, you know, major companies, major conglomerates to do. Wasn't that difficult. Setting up a company and reaching out to some people to build a website or design a logo, I thought it was gonna be something that just happens to famous people on Instagram. No, just do it. It's not as difficult as it seems. And I think also one thing holding a lot of people back, and that was holding me back to some degree at the beginning, was the fear of, like, what if people judge me? What are people gonna think when I start doing this? What are people gonna think when I start posting videos on YouTube? What are people gonna think when I launch an app with children's stories, for example? But you gotta realize that your life really isn't that interesting. You're really not that interesting. And this is something that I realized like way back in the day when I made football videos. I thought when I was like 14 and started doing this, I thought, okay, everyone's gonna think I'm so stupid. Like, what if I'm not even good? There are people who are so much better than me at doing these free kicks and an empty goal. But then you have to stop down and realize that I'm not special. There's nothing special about me. People don't really care about what I do with my time. Everyone's so busy doing their own stuff, with their own lives, with their own issues, with their own hobbies, etc., that no one's really gonna care what you do. So if you start a YouTube channel, 95 of all people, of all your friends, won't care. They couldn't care less if you have a YouTube channel and post videos of yourself on the internet. 4 people are probably gonna be super positive, like they're gonna be your biggest fans, those 4 people. And probably 1 out of 100 people are gonna be negative. And that probably comes from a place of insecurity where they know that they would have wanted to do something similar, but they haven't executed upon it and they haven't dared to execute upon it. That was that rant. Thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk. If I could summarize it, I heard this quote somewhere, I'm not really sure who's it by, but it goes, ideas are incredibly overvalued. There's nothing valuable at all about ideas. Execution is all that matters. I hope that you got something out of this. This isn't like a brag or anything like that, just to look how good I am. This is something that I actually got this DM like 2 weeks ago, and it's something that I've thought quite a lot about, and it's something which has become very apparent to me as I've started doing more of these things. But yeah, that's the summary, that's why I wanted to make this video. Now we're gonna do something exciting. My app is actually approved on both the App Store and the Google Play Store, which is why we're now gonna launch it. It's not gonna become available on the App Store, which is quite exciting. Okay, so the last thing that we're gonna do for today's video is that we're gonna publish this app. They've both been approved, as you saw in my last video. They've both been approved, and I'm gonna make a little bit of a summary video that's probably gonna be launching before this video, which is gonna be a little bit confusing. So if you haven't watched that one, go check that one out. It's the previous video. But here we are in the Google Play console, and as we can see, we have Arpster and we have my other apps here. And we're gonna go for the Arpster video, and we're gonna go to Publishing Overview, and we're gonna hit that button. All the content rating is good, so we're just gonna press Publish 14 changes. Publish changes, boom. So this should now be on the App Store. So let's check if we go on, or the Google Play Store, sorry. This is now in production, pretty damn cool. So view on Google Play, I guess this probably takes an hour, but there we have it. There's my app on the Google Play Store. That is the app on the Google Play. Now we're gonna head over to the App Store Connect, and we're gonna press Arpster. We're gonna go to release this version. We're gonna hit that button and we're gonna press release this version. And this should now be available on the Apple App Store. I'm not really sure what you press to view this. Okay, it seems to be loading. I guess for Apple it takes a couple of minutes before it's live on the App Store. If you want to check it out, the link is gonna be down below in the bio. That was that for today's video. If you want to see how this develops, how it works out with the release of this app, how we market it, all that kind of stuff, then feel free to subscribe down below. It's completely free of charge. It's a bargain, I know. If you want to see more of these like real videos with just like deep talk, then feel free to let me know down in the comments. And without further ado, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.